June the 27th, 2024. Guys, you're looking at satellite images over the northern hemisphere on this side of the planet. And you see the sun setting yesterday there, and then overnight we'll put it to infrared where you can see it. But I wanted to leave it here for a minute. We've got some major updates on these storms. But notice at the top of this, it never gets dark. You know, we're talking about the Arctic Circle. We're in the summer, the Earth is tilted, and we're in very long days now. We just had the solstice. But it's called the Arctic Circle, and usually that's the area that it's the land of the midnight sun, some say. And anyway, it's just, if you notice, all the way up into here, this is north of Hudson Bay in this area. Again, the Arctic Circle, you can see the tip of Greenland and Iceland's right there, and the UK's over here. But notice, again, it's always a good indicator if you're concerned about any tilting of the planet. Some of these satellites will give you a good idea. But for you guys in that area, does that look common to you? Again, I've had to change my solar panels further to the north and further than I ever have. Maybe a complete foot of motion this year. So whatever's up with that, I don't know yet. But anyway, we've got the storm that's in the Caribbean. We have the one off of Africa. Now, this one right here may be a major problem before this is over with. Let me switch this to infrared. Now, looking at Africa, we still have storms coming off right there. And the models keep showing a kind of a train of storms. Some of the longer models, you know, by the time they get out, you know, past really over a week or so, things will change by then. But this area right here, guys, they're starting to really pay attention to it. We're going to look at the updates on it. The track is changing more to the north. It looks like it's going to come in possibly to the Gulf of Mexico, maybe across Cuba. We'll take a look at the models. It has now a 70% chance of development, and the one in the Caribbean is still, I think, 30% chance. And it looks like it's going to cross the Yucatan, more than likely, and then pull back into Mexico. We're going to take a look at the models. You've got some systems still rotating, guys, over basically the Arizona, New Mexico, Colorado area right here, and over the Texas area, moving into Oklahoma now. So that may bring some needed moisture. We hope so. Now let's take a little closer look at the storm right there. Again, 70% chance of development, and they are starting to put the spaghetti models together for this one. Here, again, you've got the Saharan sand layer. Some of this dimming out right there that you see is there. We also have more and more storms piling up. It's very warm in the Atlantic right now. Now, let's take a look over the Gulf of Mexico and the northern Caribbean. Here's our storm system right there, starting to gather a lot more storm clouds around it than it has, than we've seen. It's been fairly dry since it came into the Caribbean, but now that is changing. We're still seeing the push down here over the central U.S. It's forming storms, the ones we're seeing over into the Texas, Oklahoma area, coming out of Mexico, rotating around. Now they're starting to pull some storms up for you guys down in Louisiana along the coast, Mississippi, along the Florida Panhandle. Guys, the weather in this area along the Gulf has been unusual this year. We've had, I think maybe 7 deaths of people drowning in rip currents around the Panama City area and Walton County in the last few weeks. So that's telling you there's a lot of energy in this water. Be careful if you're going to the beach, especially in the warm waters of the Gulf. But two brothers and one of their friends, they were all dads. They went in the water and never came back out. They found them. And then the parents of 6 children drowned in rip currents also. So that's 5 in 1 week. And then there was a few before that. But just be careful down here, guys. It's nothing to play with. It's beautiful, but that it is treacherous if you're not familiar with the ocean. You need to know a little bit about it before you just run and jump in. And again, that's what happened to the 3 dads from Birmingham, Alabama, as a matter of fact. They signed in to the room, ran out in the water. They had other family members, kids, I think. And immediately they jumped right into a rip current on the beach. And it pulls you out. If you fight it, it just makes it worse. You've got to slowly move left or right out of that current until you don't feel it anymore, then make your way back in. But if you try to swim back into that rip current, guys, you're going to wear yourself out and not get anywhere. It's going to continue to push out. So you got to work yourself, turn towards the beach and look left or right, but get out of it. And that's how you're going to save yourself. But just don't run out and think you can swim just anywhere. There's deep areas along that coast, and with all these storms and all this agitation, it's just adding fuel to the fire. Now, looking at this in infrared, you can see the strength of the storms gathering around this area of the Caribbean right there. And they're watching it, and this one needs to be watched in case we have a break in this high pressure that you see pushing down and forcing this moist air out into the Gulf, causing this weather, which rain is good this time of the year. But that's what we're seeing, that front right here, high pressure area, heat everywhere. It's been 105 in the afternoons here, real feel, things like that. But again, we got to watch this. This thing is growing. So Mexico and all of you guys that are in the Yucatan, keep an eye on this thing. It's large and it is gathering strength very quickly. Cuba, Jamaica, all this area in here, pay attention to it. Now, this morning at 7:42 a.m. Eastern, this was put up. You got a 30% chance of this storm developing. It looks like, again, they've got it crossing the Yucatan, following the path of the first two tropical systems that we saw come in this year. Back here, we're at a 70% chance of development. It says a tropical wave located several hundred miles west-southwest of the Cabo Verde Islands continues to produce disorganized shower and thunderstorm activity. Environmental conditions are forecast to be conducive, and development of the system is anticipated. A tropical depression or tropical storm is likely to form this weekend several hundred miles east of the Windward Islands, while the system moves westward at 15 to 20 miles an hour. That's saying, here's the Windward Islands, so a couple hundred miles before it gets there, it's already going to be a tropical system, full flight here. But again, look at this. Remember the path, the red lines indicate the possible path of the center of circulation, not the size of the storm. Always remember that. Now, this is the update on the first storm. It's called Invest 94L. And you've got a few of the models here. The CMC is right here. It's taking a very southerly route. Some of the other ones further north. Notice that the purple tab is not, that's the Navy model, but they have not weighed in yet on what's going to happen here. Possibly by today. This was updated 28 minutes ago. So they're saying the storm is located here. And we may see some of those storms stripped away simply because it's getting close to land. It may work just the opposite, but again, everything's going to be determined by where the high pressure is in the next few days. Now, this one is concerning, because all the models now are taking it a more northerly route. It looks like it's going to either come across Jamaica, maybe skirt through Cuba, and straight into the Gulf. This is a very tight model pattern, and so they are definitely expecting a pullback now in the high pressure. Remember, it's moving to the east. But again, we've got the Navy model here in the purple. That's showing it one of the more northerly routes right there. It's NavGem in the purple right there. CMC is below it right here. And so it looks like we're going to have our first hurricane, guys, and maybe coming into the Gulf. This thing can change. If it skirts a little further north, it will be an Atlantic system going through the Bahamas and up the East Coast or possibly into Florida. Either way, it looks like we got one coming our way, guys. Now, this model has not been updated since very early this morning. It's the Navy model. What they're showing is the first storm kind of getting tangled up here into Mexico, and then something pulling out into the Pacific Ocean there. Here's a secondary storm here. Again, this one has not been updated since those spaghetti models just were updated with the more northerly track. But that's as far as it goes out. And this particular model from the Navy goes out, let's see, there's July 4th to the 4th of July right there. And we do see an opening. Notice on the 4th as this stops, and the high pressure right here in the Louisiana, Texas area. But notice it's pulling back. Let's take a look at the Canadian model, guys. I don't know if it's been updated like the spaghetti models. I'm not sure of that, but it shows a second storm coming across the tip of the Yucatan, but it's staying north. Notice this, it gets very close to Cuba, skirts Jamaica right there, and then pushing more to the directly west at that point. We'll see about that because, again, I don't think these models, the two visual models like this that go out in time, are showing the updated spaghetti models. Now, this is the global forecast model. I'm going to play it through. It actually shows the storm that we're watching coming off the coast of Africa now forming in behind it. Let it rotate through. The storm we're seeing in the Caribbean is kind of dissolved into this area, soaked up into Mexico here. Here's the first storm, a 70% chance of development, wrapped very tightly, coming in, taking advantage of a break in the pressure. And the second storm behind it, notice, is the one we're seeing just come off the coast now, indicating both of them strengthening. Here, the second one, right in here, it looks like it's pulled up into the Atlantic north of Cuba at that point. But again, the last few days are not as accurate, but it's one of the longest extended out models that we have. Go right there, and coming in here, setting right there, that is July the 6th. Setting here, step this thing forward. Setting off the Louisiana coast there on the 7th. Coming into Texas on the 7th, July 7th. Again, things can change, but the spaghetti models are indicating a more northward track from what we were seeing yesterday. Now, just a quick look at the water vapor loop over the Atlantic Ocean itself. Again, here's the coast of Africa. Here's the storm we're watching. Here's the one the model's picking up from the GFS. This brown air here is very dry air, and it's associated somewhat with the Saharan sand layer. Now, this storm looks like it's going to be powerful enough to get through this area without much hindrance because you're starting to see more and more moisture build up here in front of it and more moisture being pushed down towards South America from the Windward Islands. Check that out right there. But anyway, just a short loop. But this, again, this is what stops the storms, slows them down, or really can take them out of the game. But the first storm will always open a path, but as it cuts through that dust layer and absorbs it, everything collapses to the ocean. But the second storm will have a clearer path. We'll watch these two because both of them came off very large storms, and look at the size of them now. It's not wrapped that tight, but it's going to get there sooner than later. And just before I end this, guys, this is the name of the storms for the 2024 Atlantic season. We've had Alberto. They've got it marked off, so you're going to have, we may be looking at the formation of Beryl, Chris, and Debbie before this is over with. And you got Ernesto, Francine, Gordon, Helen, Isaac, Joyce, Kirk, Leslie, Milton, Nadine, Oscar, Patty, Raphael, Sarah, Tony, Valerie, and William. I hope we don't have that many, but they are projecting a very strong season. And guys, so far, it's been focused on the Caribbean and the Gulf of Mexico itself. And we're just going to see how this works out. Again, it looks like we're starting to see a northward drift of some of these models. Again, Beryl, Chris, and Debbie may be forming very quickly. And what they're saying is the models are beginning to show increasing agreement in the likelihood of this system organizing into a tropical depression or tropical storm as it approaches the Lesser Antilles. It is too early to speculate on potential paths beyond that point. But you notice, now this was written, I think, early this morning, maybe before the spaghetti models moved north. But anyway, it's too early to speculate on potential paths beyond that point. This disturbance is currently over 3,000 miles away from Florida, so we have a long time to monitor its progress. Plenty of time. Early warning, guys. Plenty of time. You watch this channel, keep it updated on the National Hurricane Center and all of your sources. And just, if you're thinking about a Gulf vacation around the 7th after the 4th of July, definitely watch. You know, we don't need any more people pulled out into the Gulf of Mexico and drowned. A lot of people don't watch the weather. It's just beautiful down there. You run out there, it's sunny, beautiful beaches, beautiful water. It can be very deadly, guys. We're watching it. You watch it. It's a heads up. Be safe.